Hey guys, tuning in. Was trying to get you a handout emailed. For some reason, it hasn't come through yet. So I'm switching gears here and sending it to you from my corn team email. Everybody hear me okay? Start tuning in, checking in. Well, hopefully you guys can hear me.
Can hear you.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Very good.
All
Hey
right.
guys,
Welcome to the group call, everyone. And I'm going to jump over and send you guys a handout that I'm going to give you a second to download here too, before we kick it off into high gear. Just out of it. So the first thing is that you'll get these handouts ahead of time. I'm converting everything, kind of taking out all the real estate jargon and taking 15 years of coaching loan officers, top LOs, and translating how this information actually the information lives in both worlds. It's just taking the word real estate agent out and adding mortgage. And there are some things that I take out because it's a lot of KW stuff. However, I have left some of the KW stuff lingo in here. I've left some of the real estate stuff, agent stuff in here because I want you guys to hear it and understand their world still, because that seems to be the main source for a referral partner for most LOs. And I say, unfortunately, that maybe the loan industry puts too much emphasis on the real estate industry to drive the business, because there is just as much business to be found in financial planners, CPAs, divorce attorneys. I mean, all these things you guys already know. Not to even mention that you have the exact same list of people that live in your community that move every 5 to 10 years that real estate agents do. And waiting on them to do this stuff sometimes doesn't make sense to me, because I coach real estate agents as well, and have coached some of the top real estate agents as well, and they're not doing the stuff either. So I just don't want you to be reliant on a real estate agent to drive your business, unless you want to help them drive their business with the stuff that we're talking about today and drive their business. And because they do have a great opportunity, being the more ego people, personality, outgoing, go to a lot of parties. I mean, you all know what they do. They goof off a lot, right? And you're in the office working and pounding, and they're bugging you for stuff, right? So just helping them grow their business so that they become that magnet and that funnel for your business. So anyway, before I go any further, let me just kind of pause out. Well, actually, let me finish my sentence first. I'm so excited about this class. I got to get myself under control here. But the way to get the most out of this class is that when you get the handout, if you can skim that before the call, it may or may not make sense to you. Just kind of glancing at the graphics, roughly read some of the stuff. We go through the content, go through the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint should match your handout, make your notes, anything that you have there. And anytime you have any questions, it is interactive. So once I get flowing, and I mean, if I'm accused of anything, I try to pack too much information in a small amount of time. So that's why we will have a second call where it's a 30-minute kind of Q&A, bringing questions, but you also can ask questions during this class. It's an interactive call. So we'll go through, you'll take your notes, you do all that stuff. Then what you do is take your handout and go through and transfer your notes onto the actual handout where it belongs, so that you're seeing the material again, you're putting it into context with your notes, and then you've got some action items that you're working on between now and the next call. It's not overwhelming. I mean, the calls are once a month, so it's like you do have a month long to do them. I'm going to set up a little reminder trigger thing throughout. That's just every week send you, hey, how you doing on this? Did you send this in? Did you send that in? And it's just fairly simple tracking things that help you move along and apply the information that we're talking about. Last thing I'll say, and then I want to shut up and kind of hear what you guys, I mean, here we're talking about this course. We had kind of a quick overview call. What are you hoping to get out of this? What are you hoping that we cover? What do you really want to get from it? I want to hear that from you, but I want to tell you this first. I don't know of anyone else in the industry that is going to have this level of a conversation on database being your gold mine, how these follow-up plans are actual, truly like freaking money machines. This is like turning your database into an ATM machine. I don't know of anyone else that is teaching this level, this detail of the stuff we're going to cover as we go through this. It might take us 6, 7, 8 months to get through it. The last month is more of a recap, but it is a lot of content, and it is being very on purpose to turn your database into a machine while you're working on it and actually building it, not just teaching you what a database is. I can do that in one call. I can teach you what a database is and how the plans work, and then you'll never get a lot of those in place. But if we go through this, understanding it while we're building it and while we're putting the things in place is where you'll get the most out of it. So with that being said, I just want to pause out for a second and invite anyone to just kind of unmute. And actually what's really good too is if you just want to say where you are and what market you're from, that works really good to know who all's on the call. And then we can get everybody connected and into just like being a power team while you're going through this database stuff and just having each other to call and check on and see how you're doing. But so let's just kind of run through the room and who you are, what your market is, how long you've been with movement, and just what you would like to see come out of this time together. So, and I'll start with the order of the screens that I see, and that would be Jared would be first. Then I got Aram, Gary, and Dom, and then I'll keep the list going after that, as long as you guys don't all move around on me. So we'll start with Jared first if he's there. I know he's got it muted out. Or not muted out, but just away from his screen. So we'll go with you, Aram. Oh, I think you're muted, bud. Do I need to unmute you?
I forgot to unmute my mic here.
There we go. Now we got it.
I'm an amazing loan officer located in Florida, licensed in Washington and Texas. Other states to be added soon. I'm in the Southwest Florida market. Travis Marchant is a market leader.
All right. And what do you think you want to get out of this database thing, or what do you want to see happen from going through this whole thing?
Bring it to life for engagement. Because I know I have like 1,500 contacts, including realtor database. They're everything kind of mixed up. I've spent some time organizing things a little bit, classifying, putting people in groups. But what ultimately I want to do, I want to make sure my database is live. And what I mean by that is that every single entry there is properly classified, assigned to proper groups, and also want to clean up. I have been calling actively for the last couple of months. I started just this year, calling every single client on their birthday, close deals, and wishing them happy birthday. Those who didn't answer got the voicemail and text, and those who answered actually were very happy to hear from me. Even the person that I had he was kind of very stressful person by himself, but unsubscribed from all communication. I decided to call him anyway, and he was very happy to hear from me, which was kind of surprising. And I'm planning to kind of clean up the database primarily and make it work for me. So the next step will be actually hire a virtual assistant and have him or her call every single dead lead, anything that labeled as dead or inactive that is not basically closed. Call them, ask them if they're still looking for home, if what's going on, and also call my closed clients to see if they still have the correct mailing address, if they're moved or used another lender or something like that.
Well, we are going to cover that for sure. And it kind of actually made me think while you were saying all that stuff, it's going to be understanding, like not just going through a list of old names and getting them into the database. Guys, you're going to connect with these people at a level that generates 5 new purchases or a new purchase every 5 years or 10 years, however often they move. And then when we have our refi opportunities, you guys get to add another probably 2 or 3 times a year where you're making money on the same content that a real estate agent, me, like a real estate agent like myself, does not have access to. We just got to wait for another 5 years. So it will be so that in 5 years, you are top of mind and you get the business back again. Here's what I can tell you right now, why I say this isn't happening in our industry. When that 5-year mark hits and you guys apply this stuff and put it in your business, you're going to be calling the realtor that you're working with this year on a client and saying, hey, I don't know if you knew the Smiths are moving. I just got them approved for a loan. And you're doing business. You're actually giving that realtor business back that they may have given you this year, but you're going to be giving them back business every 5 years, right? And anytime you do a refi, it'll be a reason to talk to them. Or, you know, if they're doing a refi because they want to do some improvements on their house, think about your relationship with your real estate agent when they say, hey, we want to milk some money out and do an add-on to the house. It's like, it's tagged in your database and it came from a real estate agent. It's like, well, we need to call Brad and also make sure that you do the right things as well. You're not going to stop them from doing what they're doing. They're still going to get the second mortgage and you'll get however they're going to do it. But it's to give you another connection with that realtor that I promise you, they haven't been in touch with them since they bought the house. So that's cool. This is going to cover more than just database. The database is the machine or the engine that runs what we're talking about to create a predictable business. All right, so I'm going to go back up to Jared. If you want to throw in where you are, what your market is, who you are, where you are, how long you've been at Movement, and then what you're hoping to get out of this database thing.
I've been here 5 years. Actually, like this is my 5-year anniversary, like yesterday was or something. I'm in Phoenix, the Arizona market, Western region, and then I've like I just talked with you earlier, obviously, but my database is pretty good, but being able to leverage it to bring value to my referral partners would be nice. So I'm good at organizing and having my stuff dialed in really well. But I probably could. It would be helpful to be able to show agents how to do it as well and be able to kind of give them another opportunity to make some business.
Awesome. So yes, this will hopefully give you guys some language to take away from these calls, and it is recorded so you can watch it again. It's going to be a lot of information. You're not going to master it the first time just on today's call, but just to hear the lingo and the words that you can take back to your agents. All right, Gary, rock.
I'm Gary Rockwitz, out of the Bellevue office, work Colorado, Washington, live in Colorado, out of the Bellevue office, and work Texas. I'm trying to uncover my struggles right now. Trying to follow coach's lead or following coach's lead the best I can, and then uncovering the struggles without letting that depress me, take me backwards. Been doing this between being a realtor or a banker 30 years. My real estate side of things was great. Talking with people, making the calls. That's my default. So my negative is prospecting. I turn to prospecting every time something goes wrong. And there's more to this than prospecting. So I'm just like to find out if other people's struggles are the same as mine. Want to get it up to 10 or more fundings at a minimum per month. How do I get there? And are other people going through the same thing as me, or am I out on an island just blowing it?
All right, cool. So now we're going to come to Dom, Sissy, Jeremy, and then Ed.
Dom Gonzalez out of the Third Coast region. We've been in the Woodlands market and now we're in the El Paso market. Market leaders Miguel Davila. Been with Movement minus a 3-month boomerang period. I've been with Movement about 2 years. Husband, wife team. My biggest thing is I want to learn how to make sure we've tried to organize our database for like the last 5 or 6 years, different methods, this and that. But really it's just, we get a lot of repeat business. That's really where the majority of my business comes from. But I'd like to be able to just leverage it better, organize it a little more, just fine tune it and make sure that I get an automation piece down. The more that I can automate, the more that if not, I squirrel everywhere. I'm 3 minutes into this task, and then, oh shit, now I forgot about this on that task. And you've seen those memes or whatever. My brain is like a web browser with like 30 things open. So to try to help narrow that down, hone it in, just automate as much as I can, just knowing my own struggles.
So, and just so you guys know, Dom and Sissy, Dom's going to be like, he's kind of the machine behind the curtain. And Sissy, I think you're the one that goes out and creates the chaos, right?
Kind of, yes. Dom's more of the social media database guru. And then I'm more of the, verbal relationship conversation, that sort of thing.
Awesome. Anything particular you're hoping to take away from this? Make sure we cover it.
Honestly, I'm just hoping to be able to work this database like a well-oiled machine versus I keep working the database and then overthinking it and then thinking, do I need to create another database? It's just a mess. So I'm hoping that the flow of the database just feels like normal and just good, I guess. I don't know.
Awesome. Yep. I think you'll find what you're looking for here just to help understand exactly what it is. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy and then Ed.
Yeah, so I'm Jeremy. I'm in the Virginia Beach market here. I've been with Movement since November. I came over. So I'm really just looking to get some consistency with my business. I'll have a large month and then you have like the fall off because you didn't have the systems in place to keep everything moving consistently like that. So just looking for some consistency.
Okay, and Ed.
Hey, I'm Ed. I'm in the Richmond, Virginia market. My market leaders are Josh Comer. I've been with Movement actually going on about 10 years now. So it's what I'm looking to get out of this is basically just, a little bit of what each and every one of you have said. We all struggle to try to get everything in, get it out. Where can we maximize it? How can we leverage it to be the best? So I'm learning a little bit of all of that.
Awesome. All right, guys. This is really, I'm super, super excited that you guys are showing up for this and going through it. This, I do believe, is the one thing that makes everything you'll ever do in your career work at a 5, 6, 8, 10 time level. In fact, we're going to talk about numbers today that will actually show you that you can take the same database and you can get 6 to 8 times more business out of it. If I have to be realistic about it, what it's going to do is it's going to get you on the path to a 6 to 8 times return. From the numbers perspective, it's proven. What really ends up happening and how much of it we get in place at the right way and the system and the textbook way will get you at least a 3 to 4 times return. So you can actually double and triple your business fairly easily. For somebody to be at 6 to 8 times more, I mean, you would have to track them for 10 years and they would have had to done it textbook perfect. I'm on year 25. It generates 100 closed sales out of my business without much effort. Very ease. Like there's no hardcore cold calling days in my business, in my real estate business. So also, the more lax you do it, the numbers drop a little bit. But when you're really, really lazy, it's still generating 50, 60 deals a year for me as an individual agent with no overhead. So, and I wouldn't say I've been lazy. I turned my business over to a team and I merged with them about 4 years ago and realized it was a bad mistake. And they didn't follow any of the systems that I'm sharing with you guys today. They did nothing with my systems. In fact, all my action plans and campaigns that we'll eventually get to, it's a little bit further down the road, but this is like a plane taking off. And I think I'll keep your excitement through the whole thing. So you guys be honest and tell me how this is working for you. But down the road, we're going to talk about how you turn this machine on so that it's not manual. I mean, I'm not every day going, oh my gosh, I got 20 phone calls to make. I don't do any of that. I like enjoy life, live life. I get to coach several days a week and still run the business. I don't have any overhead. The systems are running the real estate team right now and closing deals and making money. I was on vacation last week and closed 2 houses and $20,000 showed up in my account while I'm on vacation. That's not a good thing. Like when money shows up in your account and you're in Mexico. But anyway, needless to say that machine is what we're going to be talking about. So I grabbed that back and got out of that bad partnership, took my business back over. And there really the last couple years are when I realized that 2 years prior to that, the systems had not been running. And so now they were off for 2 years. And it literally took 2 years for me to see that the machine was actually derailing. And I've been just focused on the last 2 years putting it back on. And I say that now because when you start from this ground level and you work through, I've never had anything like this in 25 years in my business, but when you have 10,000 people in your database all running on multiple plans and you've been just running the machine, and then for 4 years it wasn't done and or you didn't realize it wasn't going, dude, it is brutal to jump into that machine in the middle and try and clean it up. It has turned into a 2-year project that I thought, I'll get it fixed. And it's a real deal, man. So anyway, even when it's rough, it's good when you got your machine running because it'll carry you through all different markets. All right. So if you got your handout, I did email everybody. So if you printed this out, great. If not, at least have a piece of paper and some notes just to take some quick notes on anything that you might have questions about or that you're going to add to the notes later. And I need to share my screen. I believe it is this one. All right, you guys tell me if you see my PowerPoint. Yes. All right, and I'm going to see if this advances. All right, come on. There we go. You guys see Get Ready?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so just the first question to kind of kick this out. And I want everybody to write a number down. Even if you have text it to yourself, write it on a piece of paper, whatever. How would you rate your current contact management system on a scale of 1 to 10? 1, I don't have any and I don't feed my database daily. Or 10, I use the contact management tools, tasks, daily. I feed new people into it every single day and I stay in touch with everybody every single day. Just kind of write down what number you think you are. And then, well, let's just actually, before we do that, we can actually even use a chat on this. Type your number in the chat on what you put yourself down as. Find my chat box. Get back to the chat. Oh, here we go. It's right here. I want to watch the chat as well. All right. No judgment on the numbers. These are all for yourself. All right, cool. So the next thing I would ask is, what would it take even just to bump it up 1 or 2 numbers or 3 or 4 numbers? And just think about that. Like, what do you need to do? And most of the time people know what they need to do. I need to stay in better touch. I need to remember to put people in the database. I need to do all that stuff. So these are the kind of things that we're going to actually cover in this first session. And it is quite a bit of content. So I'm going to kind of book through some of this stuff fast, but I don't want to leave anybody in the dust. Flag me like this if you're trying to talk and I'm not hearing you, okay? I'll see you out of the corner of my eye here. But it's evaluate your current process for lead generation follow-up, setting the stage to think like a top producer does with their database. And by the way, I mean, you guys can make a note of this. Jared does a pretty dang good job at his database. Mike Morrison, fabulous job at follow-up, and that's why he's got so many closings already this month. He was on one of the Thursday group calls where he was just talking about the relationships. But I will tell you, coaching Mike Morrison, it's still a struggle. Like, it seems overwhelming every single day. So it does take a system just to spit a few people at you every day and tell you it's time to touch base. And he has a lot of agents that he touches base with. And like you, every time you touch base doesn't mean it's a piece of business. In fact, he's been touching base so strongly for so long, he'll come to calls and go, man, I just feel like I'm doing it every day and I'm just not getting the numbers that I think I should get. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, all that stuff I did 2 months ago is starting to pay off. So it is about being consistent and persistent. And that's where most people drop it. The 3 key areas of lead generation, we're going to talk a little bit, some millionaire real estate agent numbers from the book Millionaire Real Estate Agent that Gary Keller wrote. Like I said, I left some of the real estate lingo in here on purpose because it talks about turning your system getting it off of a 50-to-1 return and turning it into a 12-to-2 return. And actually, because I'm talking to loan officers and you guys are way better than math than real estate agents usually are, 50-to-1 versus 12-to-2. If you run the math on that equation, it's about 6 to 8 times more on a 12-to-2 return versus a 50-to-1. So as we go through here, whenever I say 12-to-2 or 50-to-1, understand that we're talking about the same group of people. And right now, if you were around a 2 or 3 or a 5 in your database, even when people think they're great at their database, they're probably still running a 50-to-1. Like, if you took your database and divided it by 50, you would see how many deals you should be closing every year from that database. And there's a deeper calculation there, but you're going to see a number that will be somewhat close to what you do. And then take that same number and divide it in that 12-to-2 ratio, and you'll see how much business is probably missing. So we're going to talk about that. Developing how to create the habit to feed it every day, what your database really needs to do for you to turn it into automation, how the action plans will work. And we're just going to do a quick little flyover on that at the end, towards the end of the call today, and then just start tracking numbers and getting better at what you are doing. So the first thing is follow improvement models. And this is the one thing with a lot of independent contractors and people that run their own businesses. I mean, you guys are pretty independent when you come to this. You got into mortgage because you do kind of feel like you can run your own business a little bit. The problem with entrepreneurs and business people is we try to get creative in the beginning, where there's really some strong foundational models that need to be put in place before you start going crazy. And in our industry, real estate industry, whether it's mortgage, real estate, whatever, most of the time you get in, somebody slides you a phone and says, just call everybody you know and start talking. And the base model for how to follow up with people isn't shared. I mean, most people are designed really just to get the ball rolling, get enough loans out of people or enough house sales out of agents until they quit real estate because they never really get it going. That's what sucks. The models are what make it predictable, repeatable, consistent, that you can plan on it. And so what's crazy is all that effort put into that beginning thing, calling people. If they would have just put it into a model for follow-up, and that's one of the things we hear all the time, follow-up is bad. I never heard from anybody again, whatever. That's where those models on follow-up will actually come back and pay off for you big time. I'll try to pause out too and just see if you guys have any questions, but just remember, flag me down or unmute and just try and jump in. But this is a graphic that was in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent too, and this might speak to some of you as to why do some people have super success when they first get into the mortgage business and they just seem like they were given the golden spoon and they take off. Or when you look at really successful LOs that are hitting President's Club and change makers and all that stuff, and they make it seem like it's kind of easy. You guys know anybody like that, or you've seen anybody in the interviews that makes you feel that way? So there is a natural ceiling that we hit with our energy level, how we process things, how we do things. Everybody hits it. And what happens is when you hit that ceiling, that's where you're going to see a lot of people in the career that have in the real estate business, especially whether it's agents or loan officers, they will hit like a certain amount of sales and they just kind of do that for the rest of their career. First of all, there's comfort level and all that other stuff, but their natural ability, like my natural ability in the real estate business is to sell 100 homes a year. I can do that in my sleep. If you told me to get to 200 sales a year, it's not like I can just go, okay, and I just show up with 200 sales next year. My natural ability is where it is. What I would have to do is go back to my models and look at how I'm processing my current system. And I would have to tweak those and change those models a little bit. And then when I break through, once I hit 200 sales doing that, because I captured better leads, I followed up better, I made, the follow-up part is good. I'm just not capturing everybody. So if I got that piece down and I stayed on the follow-up, and I create systems along the way, then I'm going to break through that ceiling. And what happens when you do that, you usually don't go backwards unless you just don't have systems. Where your business is so up and down, you can do 100 sales one year and then 10 the next year. There's no systems running. That's just somebody working harder and not working when it goes, or the market changed and they didn't change the way they were doing things. But when you follow models and you create systems and follow up and all this other stuff, it breaks you through. And then that becomes your floor. Then that will take you to a certain point. Now it's like, okay, how do I go from 200 sales a year for the last 2 years, 3 years to now 500 sales? And most of us naturally go through this, but what you'll find is somebody's always putting in a new model. So at 200 transactions closed a year, you would look at somebody that's closing 500 loans a year, and you might go shadow them and hang out with them for a day and see, oh, I don't do that. I don't do it that way. Oh, I never thought about processing it that way. So you're looking at their models to do 500 and you come back and it breaks you through that ceiling. You can keep going as far as you want to go and as big as you want to go. But it is about putting those models in place to do it different. This is another little piece just to spend a little bit on this. I know we talk about it a lot in the coaching here at Movement, and that's your big why. I mean, we got Bill Hart in the house. So he's always talking about big why. And the way I want you to think about big why is what makes you jump out of bed every day, 4 a.m. to run to the Movement Mortgage office and go to work. I mean, and if you don't do that, maybe we haven't found out your big why yet. There's a lot of people that I coach that they're kind of doing this because they're doing it and they want to see how it goes. And, it sounds good and all that, but they haven't figured out what their why is that would get them to really say, you know what, I'm going to sign up for coaching. I'm going to go through this program. I'm going to turn my database into a machine. That person hasn't figured out their why yet, or what that is. Now, the one thing I will tell you about why, and the reason why I'm even talking about it, when you start figuring out your real estate agent's whys, when you start figuring out your client's whys as you go through this worksheet, because this is one thing you'll fill in, it's going to put you in a different level to where you can bring more direct decisions and get them to do things faster. Like Rock, when we were talking about filling out the application, when we can slow down for a second and figure out that person's why for even being referred to us in the first place, and we know why they want to buy a house, then I can get to that real why. And why you want to go about 6 or 7 or 8 levels deep. I will be sending you kind of a quick summary over the book that I'm going to mention here in a second. Is actually, I'll jump over here to What's Your Why. What's Your Why by Kent Burns. I did a book summary on it. I don't even know if this book's in print, but it was pretty short. I'm not a big book reader, believe it or not. Getting from the cover to cover is tough for me. Audio is always good, but you might find this in audio. I don't know if the book's in print anymore, but once you say, what's your why? And then you say, just say, for example, does anybody have an idea, or if I were just to ask you what your why is, anybody really gone through this, somebody who hasn't gone through this exercise at a deep level, tell me what your why might be. Rock, what's your why for getting into this and sticking through this?
Quality of life in retirement and enjoying what I'm doing while I'm working that way.
Okay. So would you say there's a certain amount of money that you need to make every month that's going to provide that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So most people will a lot of times say, well, my why is money. I mean, mortgage business, I can make money a lot of money, right? So then that's when you have to say, okay, so if you made money, what's that do for you? So if you made the amount of money that you would need so that you could actually retire and be good, what would that do for you if you made that money right now, Rock?
If I make that money right now, it allows me to plan where I'm to do the best to plan to where I'm going into the future. Let's just say refi boom, last markets for years, do really good, hit this market, it sucks. Break it down to coaching now. For me, I'm finding out the things of why I'm doing it and where I'm having struggles. I've never had time to slow down to do that. And it kind of stinks, to tell you the truth. But my why is to find my struggles right now.
Yeah.
To
So
get to the next levels.
So in that plan, are there things that you want to get paid off before you can retire? Are there things that you still want to buy yet before you retire?
There will always be that, but there will always be that, and that's why you say we haven't yet defined our why. Good job.
Yeah. Well, so
there are things always.
So once you kind of pulling this together and you start to see the plan to where you can actually retire, just visualize the day that you're like, okay, I'm lining things up now. This is what my retirement's going to look like, right? That would seem like I'm kind of there. Like, oh, that'd be awesome to know what that plan is. But then I would say, if that plan showed up today and it was sitting there and you had it all lined up and you can make it happen, what's that do for you?
It improves health and life.
Great. And when you're healthier and you wake up every day and you're enjoying life, what's that do for you?
Put a smile on your face, and more so on everybody's face around you, on the way you're living your life and comfortable to be around.
So you guys see how we can even go a couple layers deeper here. Like when he's smiling every day, what's that look like? What's that day look like for you? And you really get down to that inner core. That's what will get you up out of bed every day. And when you figure this out for your clients, I'll give you an example. Like on a client, we were just talking about, I've gotten some referrals, but they haven't even filled out the app yet. It's like, if the first question is, what's important about even moving right now? And you'll have somebody respond something like, well, we really just I've got a client right now. I just want to stay close to the grandkids. I want to have a place, this amazing barn dominium where the grandkids can come. We have a little bit of acreage. We have a pool. They can come swim. They can do all this stuff, right? So if one and what's that do for you when you're with the grandkid? Like you could see your grandkids the weekends you want to see them and they're out at the pool. Oh my gosh, that's thrilled, just enjoying life, seeing them grow up, watching them grow up, blah, blah, blah. And I dig a little deeper. So now when I've got just a lead on the phone that I know most likely is not going to fill out the app or it's not their top priority thing, but I could start talking about, tell you what, if you could have the grandkids in that pool sooner than later, what would that do for you? Oh my gosh, it'd be like a dream come true. Well, then, so I've got this link to your dream come true. I just need you to fill out a couple of basic things and we can make that dream come true. And you can see listen to me, you can see your grandkids in the pool right there while you're sitting there enjoying life. Just takes about 10, 15 minutes to fill this thing out. See how you're going to get that done more. So when you master the why, that's where you guys are going to really start seeing things happen. Any questions on that? Man, just dig deep. What's that do for you? Why is that important to you? That stuff. So the big why recap, always dig 3 deep. I'd say go 6 or 7 deep if you can, but start with 3 because most people go 1 or 2 and you're not at a why yet. In fact, you'll know you're not at a why because if you go 3 deep and they're like, well, we need to make enough money for down payment. Okay, so if you had your down payment, what would that do? Well, then I could move out of this crappy neighborhood I'm in. Okay, so if we get you out of that neighborhood and into a neighborhood you like, what's that do for you? It's like, well, then life will be better. Okay, great. So this link will take you to this thing, will make your life better. And when they don't fill out the application, It's not, you haven't gone deep enough, right? So if you dig a little bit deeper, well, what makes your neighborhood so bad? It's like, oh, my neighbor, we have disputes. We've sued each other. In fact, we got a lawsuit going on right now. It's like, oh, we got to get you out of this situation. So real world, seller on the market right now, dispute lines over a driveway. Neighbor throws a rock on his wife's foot. Now we got police come. Now we got a lawsuit. Now he's suing them for something else. And you know what? They actually want to take their house off the market every week. And I keep saying, guys, you really want to live like this? Your house is sellable. You just got to now quit trying to get top dollar for the condition it's in. So that's how I'm getting them to do price changes. It's like, we got to get you out of this cul-de-sac. You got to get out of there. And most agents wouldn't have, they would have already given up on them. So anyway, always dig 3 deep. The big why is more than money. It's usually going to come down to something very personable to them. So when somebody says we want to be in Florida with our grandkids for Christmas every year, well, Christmas is coming up in 6 months. So this application probably needs to be done today. May take you 90 days to find a house, maybe 180. That's what Dave Ramsey just said. Their average days from time they get a buyer until they close is 180. And by the time we get your house under contract, get it closed, get you moved, you're at Christmas. Like, if we don't do this today, you're going to miss your grandkids' Christmas. Now, they may not miss their Christmas, but they're going to miss it in the new house that they were envisioning. So if you had that, how would it make you feel? And that's just how you get better at the big why. Again, any questions on big why? It sounds pretty basic, but man, how many of you right now are thinking, okay, this is a little more detailed than what I thought about big why, right? Just bringing it to your attention. So what top producers focus on is the 20% of what they do generates 80% of their results. Most people, including today, all of us on this call, 80% of what we did yesterday generated 20% of our income. So think of it this way, that when you figure out what the 20% is that's generating 80% of your income, you realize all you have to do is double that activity. And that would only be 40% of your day, and you would double your income. You'd still have 60% of your day to do the crap. The 80% stuff is the crap that we have to do, but it is not generating the result. It's just making sure the result happens. There's things that you do, which is lead capture, cultivate, convert to close. Without those people, there is no income. Making sure all the paperwork's in line is 80% stuff that only is responsible for 20% of the income, because you've already got the business in place. So time and effort on the 20% is really what matters, and it delivers 80% more results. So this is just something I pulled out of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, but it really is the top 2 things that top producers focus on is their think powered by a big why and think big goals and big models. So we already talked about the big why, understanding that a little bit more, but man, I'm telling you what, if President's Club is not your goal, whenever I'm coaching somebody and they're like, I want to hit 20 million this year. And it's like, do you realize President's Club is 25 million? I mean, if you really took 5 million in total volume and broke it down, how many loans is it extra to just do the extra 5? Now, I know you still got to do the 20, but if that extra is, if you do the 20 and then you just add that 1 extra a month and you're at 25, when you set big goals, and if you set your goal at 20, then you're probably at least going to maybe hit 20. If you had some amazing year or some amazing market that caused something like a refi boom, you might do more than your goal. But most of the time, whatever we set for our goal, we're trying to hit it and we're working towards it all winter. If you just doubled that and made that your real goal and you believe it, then it's going to pull you through all the smaller ones faster, as long as you're doing the 20% in the activities that will drive that higher volume. Honestly, when I took this mindset in, I set my goal at 40 million in sales, and that was a while ago. Today, that'd be nothing. But at 40 million then, I would have been the top agent in Kansas City out of 10,000 agents. I'd never done anything close to 40 million, not even 20, barely hitting 10. In fact, at the time I set this goal, I hadn't hit 10 million. But what I ended up doing the next year was doubling my business every year for 4 years in a row, because I had set my goal so high that I didn't really care if I hit it or not, but I knew I had to have the activities in place and do business at that level every day if I was going to even get there. If I didn't do the activities of a $40 million producer, I wasn't going to get to 40 or 20. I mean, I'm just going to do whatever business naturally comes. So set your goals higher. In fact, look at change makers. What would I have to do to become a change maker? And you'll probably hit President's Club like with ease, but you'd have to do the activities that takes, right? And that's closing. I don't know, Justin, you might know. I said Justin, I meant Jared. You may know what it takes how many closings a month to even be close to change maker.
Sorry, my daughter's yelling something at me.
Oh no, that's okay.
I would say that for me in my market, it's got to be 14.
14 a month. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So 14 a month sounds like a lot, maybe not. There's 4 weeks in a month. So that's actually, what is that? 6. No, it's not. What is it, like 4 a week, right? There's five business days in a week. If you just took a loan app a day, every day, 5 days a week, you might close a couple hundred deals a year, right? So just look at what those numbers are and know what they are. But this was a couple other things that on the real estate agent side, the things that they track, the categories that they track for the millionaire real estate agent stuff. But the number one is leads generated. Number 2 is listings taken. However, in the mortgage world, my next thing besides leads generated is how many apps taken. Because apps taken will absolutely give you an exact number, a predictable number of how many closings you can have each month. And you can look at your Domo right now and see how many apps you've taken and how many have actually closed. Divide those two, and it might be for every 3 apps I take, I get 1 closed. So if you want to close 14 deals next month, you just have to take 3 times 14, right? So you just have to make sure you get 40 apps a month. 40 apps a month divided by your days of working is what it would take to be at 14 closings a month. So focus, bring it all the way back to apps taken. And then it's like contracts written, contracts closed, money people, all that stuff. Not that we're spending a whole lot of time on that, but I want you to know what these people track: leads generated, and then appointments set, and then appointments kept, and listings taken is what's important in the real estate agent's world. Anybody have anything to add that you track that's the most important thing you track?
So I think it's good to know what your number is, because I've had to tell agents sometimes, for every 5 deals you send me, you're probably going to get 1 application out of it. So that way you're setting expectations, especially for newer agents. Because, they think that every deal they send you should be able to buy a house. And unfortunately it's not. So for me, I know my number is for every 4 to 5 leads I get, depending on the agent. I have a couple that's like 1 per 1, but on average, it's going to be 4 to 5 that, before an application for a pre-qual is good to go.
Can you imagine your conversation with a real estate agent that if you get them to give you some leads or a lead or whatever, right? And you get enough leads that you know what that number is, if it's 5 leads to get 1 closed, if you know that, and then the next conversation you have with them is, hey, I'm just curious. I want to make sure you hit your numbers this month. How many closings do you want to have this month? It's like, well, I need at least 3 to 5 or I'm out of business. Okay, so here's one thing I'll help you with. I need 20 leads from you, and I can make sure you hit your 4, right? If you know those numbers, you can start talking business with them. That's where I think the gold mine is for you guys, because you can leverage your business through just a good 5, 6 agents, 3 agents. If you had that kind of conversation with them and they really want to close 3. Now, do you see why we talked about big why? Because you might actually have to go back and figure out what their big why is. Why'd you pick 3? Why is that important? Why is 5 your dead number, right? Because before I ask for 20 leads, I need to find out that if I don't close 5, then we can't pay for the car that I get to have in December, because I got to sock away X amount of dollars to pay for college, to pay for the car, and to get this done and take our trip. So how important is it that that trip happens and that car happens? Oh, it's very important. What's it going to do for you? Oh my gosh, it would make me happy, you know, dig. And then you come back to, so here's what I know. I think I can help you get the car. In fact, we'll make the trip happen. I know exactly what it takes to do that. Now I can say 20 leads will take care of that. You see how you're going to get the 20 leads more now if you're tying into their why. So the other thing that we do on this database stuff is becoming top of mind, and the importance of the drip and the follow-up and all that stuff is so that you're top of mind. And you guys probably hear me. You got to tell me at some point where you're like, oh my God, Coach Korn, you say that all the time. Just know that then I'm finally getting through. If you hear me say top of mind, it's one of my things that in the real estate world, what we know, now think about this for a minute. In the real estate world, what we know is on a seller side, 76% of all sellers will talk to one agent and list their house. Another 16% will talk to two. So that is 70, 80, 92% of the time they talk to one or two agents. If that agent isn't working their database to be number one or number two, they are not going to get the business, right? Same with buyers. It's a little bit different. They talk to a few more people, but it's just because everybody sucks at follow-up. So now if they go on a listing appointment or they get that buyer 59% of the time, are you the first loan officer they think of? Like that, I bet you that number is almost closer to 90% send it to the first person that pops in their head because they don't have any time to think. We got to get you approved. That's all somebody told them is make sure they're approved before you put them in your car. And so you got to be top of mind when they think, when they're talking to these people, when they hit their mind share. And the way this works, helping you understand this whole mind share thing, is this ring is in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and it really probably defines it the best. The one in the book's not this detailed, but you got your general public. That's everybody in your community, and that's all the affiliate partners, whether they're financial planners, CPAs, realtors, whoever, who don't have a clue who you are. They just live there. They're doing their thing. They don't even know you exist. Any marketing you do in that's called institutional marketing. That's a billboard. That's you know, whatever it might be, mass mailing to real estate agents for a training class. You're just hoping that your marketing message and your call to action are enough for them to say, I might do this, or I might show up for that event. I might pick up the phone and call this person, help them out. Very low return. I mean, probably less than 0.25% return. A targeted group is when you get like a marketing agreement with a real estate office. Now you're targeting that group of agents. So you want to be really on purpose with that group, and you're going to do things a little more intently. However, they still don't know who you are. A lot of them are still haven't met, but your message and stuff is geared towards their culture, their office, what's going on, their leadership, things like that. You're being supported by people. They call that 12 direct, or you like touch them at least once a month with something, once or twice a month. Now, once you get in there and something they come to calls them to respond to a call to action, pick up the phone and call, you show up in the doorway of their office, you meet with them, you get a two-way conversation going. That's when they move over into the Met world. And that's why I harp the 8x8 and the 33 touch, because once they cross over and you've had a connection of some sort, it is now time to play that limbic part of the brain, get past that, become somebody that they're going to see and recognize more often, and then get back to this top of mind so that you are the first one that they see and think of when they convert that lead. And what we're playing with in this market right now is that they get a lead. Think of all the agents that you're marketing to that you're well connected with. Or you get a new agent that you meet, that meets with you, has lunch, whatever. If all you do is do your normal thing, they may not have a lead for the next month, 2 months, 3 months. Whenever they get that next lead, it's going to be a live flopping fish on the hook. And they are just like, I mean, they're probably just like any fisherman, like, oh my God, I got one. You better be so top of mind that they are automatically, they know where to send them. Otherwise, they just send them to the guy sitting in the office up front. And if that's not you, And sometimes it won't even be you, because it'll be somebody else that took them out for lunch yesterday, or somebody that called them yesterday. They're going to the first and last thing they can remember. With an 8 touch, with a 33 touch behind it, you will be the first person they think of automatically. And it's almost like instinctually, they just hit you. So the more you stay in touch with them, mix up your mediums, you won't ever bug them. And remember, once you connect with them, that's when you put them on an 8x8. You don't want to just put a bunch of strangers on an 8x8. I had a client do that after I said not to do it, and didn't understand why people were asking to be removed from the mailing list. Or, just like when they would call on call week 4, they'd be like, yeah, I'm super busy. Can you call me back later? You won't get that if you only put connected people on this plan, which means that you still keep everybody on some type of follow-up plan, but you're going to intensely upgrade it to 8 touches in 8 weeks once you connect with them, so that you are there. And when you mix the mediums up into all different formats, email, text, and it's all spread out, then you're not really land blasting them with an email spam campaign. They should only be getting one email every month or two, one text message every month or two, one social media touch every month or two, a phone call every 3 months. You personalize something once every 3 months. So we'll talk about all these different plans. In fact, we're going to get really detailed on follow-up campaigns and everything through this course when you're going to teach a class, or whether you got a speaking opportunity in a market center or a real estate office or at the board, how to build that up to be so on purpose that you get 6 to 8 times more people there, or 2 to 3 times more people there, and get 2 to 3 times more business from doing the event versus just doing the event. All right, who has not played this branding game with me yet? I know some of you have. I don't know if everybody has. Everybody seen the branding game? Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of blow through this pretty quick then. Let's see how we're doing on time. Woo, that hour went fast. The branding game is when you give somebody a brand, and you can play this game with real estate agents. This is a great thing to teach in a market center if you get an opportunity. It's all about branding. You can say that 76% of all sellers talk to one agent and list their house. 16% talk to 2. That's 92% of the time. You have to be the 1 or 2 that they think of first. So you can play. Let's play a game. I'm going to say the product, and I'm just going to point to a random person, and you name me as many brands as you can think of. So then you say tennis shoes, and they're going to say Nike, Reebok, and then they'll start thinking, right? And they usually stall after 2 or 3. Potato chips, Lay's, Pringles, Sun Chips. Okay, and then they stall, and then they say toothpaste, Crest, Colgate, Pepsodent. Okay, well, the first one that everybody probably thought of was Nike, Lay's, and Crest. So you need to be the Nike, Lay's, and Crest in your market. In fact, one of the things I love coaching to is this is how, when I was coaching with Jeremy Forcier, I helped him get the real estate agents to give him their database, because he helped them realize they sucked at follow-up, and he was going to stay in touch with their database better than they were and get the business back to them, because most people would get pre-approved first. He went from doing 0 to 1 deal here and there, roller coaster kind of mortgage business, to doing 14 to 17 deals every single month, to where he is today. Now speaking on stage and sharing stuff with Dave Savage, and you guys may have seen him around the marketplace. But that all started with taking over the database. And not to get too detailed on this graphic, I don't want you to get lost in this graphic, but if you see the haven't met side, when you have a list of people or a list of realtors that you put into the database, and you put them on some kind of follow-up plan, whether it's, video, social media plan, whatever it is, you're hoping that your message is good enough that it will kick out them calling you or sending you a piece of business. The difference is that once they do send you a piece of business, and you put them on an 8x8 33 touch, and you stay in touch with them, you actually are going to do business with them again versus just a one-shot deal, and you're going to get more referral business from them. So again, this is in their world. For every 12 people on an 8x8 and 33 touch, you're going to get 2 pieces of business. For everybody in their mass marketing on a 50-to-1 return, I mean, you're going to get 6 pieces of business. What I got here, for every 50 people on an 8x8, oh, you're getting 6 times more business versus just the 50-to-1 return. And that's because of this conversion rate of top of mind marketing versus branding or marketing positioning. Now, the scary part is, and if you guys do have to go, I will keep this recording going. I think we can finish up in about 10 minutes here and then answer any questions. If you can stay, that'd be great. Otherwise, you'll get the recording as well. But it's the connection part. So if you look at all of the loans that you've closed so far today, those past clients, you talk to them. Now, I know you guys don't meet everybody like the real estate agent probably does when we're showing them houses, but you got a connection with them. You're talking to them a lot. You're getting personal information. However, if you sold them a house a year ago and you haven't talked to them and you couldn't tell me if they still live in the property or not, or what they're doing today, they are not, just because you connected with them the first time, they may have moved back out to the outer ring and they're not connected anymore. You're disconnected. So I changed this met and haven't met to connected and not connected. And what you will find a lot of times is if your conversations are short and shallow, somebody doesn't have time for you, they're really a not met. It's a not connected more than a not met. Just because you met them at a real estate event 6 months ago, you're in the not met world with them. You're not connected at all. So you got to move them back to the connected. And this is a math sheet that I'd like you guys to work through, just see how it relates to you and send it to me with the numbers that you get. You've got a couple worksheets in your handout on how these numbers work out. From the real estate side of things, what they figured out in the math is if you want to have, and this should relate almost directly over to loan officers, if you want to close 300 loans, based on knowing that people move every 5 to 10 years, right? Whatever that average is, 7 years, whatever. If you wanted to close 320 loans, you would actually need 1,920 people who have gotten a MET. And what we consider a MET is you've sent them a handwritten note and you sent them an email a week later. You sent them the mail piece the next week. You sent them the text message the next week. You did the phone call on week 4. You did another touch on week 5. You did another touch on week 6. You called them again on week 8. You would need 1,920 people that you've connected with in your database that you are staying in touch with in your top of mind, and you will close 320 loans just from those people. Now, if those people happen to be real estate agents and they did the same thing, you get to amplify this number, right? Or you get to actually decrease your number. But you have to be really well connected with the realtor and show them how to do the same thing. Otherwise, you need to have the 1,920 people in your database. You could go with the second option on a 50-to-1 return. If I have 16,000 agents that I market to consistently every month and I'm everywhere, you need 16,000 of them that they cannot get away from you, and then you can close your 300 loans a year. Or you can split it and do some mass marketing and some METs and start working your way that way. That's why you don't really turn off the haven't met stuff, but you're focusing on the METs now, and you get 960 agents. If you did 5 people a day, 5 days a week, you'll have 1,200 people in a year. So you can get to that 960 number in 1 year if you focus on it. But it is literally 5 connections a day, really connecting, writing a handwritten note 5 days a week for the next 12 months, not even till the end of the year, for the next 12 months to have 960 to close 320 loans. So you can already see here the gap that might be happening between where you are doing business and getting to a change maker level by chance. So, or that's probably a little bit above President's Club, not quite at change maker. Anyway, so any questions on this stuff so far? How many of you are kind of getting a different perspective, like, oh my gosh, I might need to take this whole thing a little more serious? Yeah? Okay, cool. So let me get through the rest of this so I can open it up and see if you guys have any questions, kind of let you know what the assignment, if you want to call it that, is. Start with a master list. Create a master list notebook. Start with the 150 people you know. Go to your cell phone list. Go to your Facebook friends list. Write those names down in there. If you've been in business for a while, there's over 100 people that are probably not in your database yet that know you. They would do business with you, but we haven't been this on purpose about our database that everybody's in there. I've been doing this for 25 years and I have a master list there's a lot of people I meet every single day that aren't on a plan yet because we haven't connected yet, because I haven't been on purpose to make sure I connected with them yet, but I'm connecting with people every day. So you got a memory jogger in the book that will help you kind of start getting those names in there as you're pulling people. Really, we have so many names in our cell phone and Facebook or social media list that I think by the time you write those down, I don't even know if you need a memory jogger anymore. However, everybody who's not in your master list that you're not on purpose to connect with at some point is drifting away without you. So use the memory jogger to make sure you got everybody you know in there. There's probably some people that aren't in your cell phone and on Facebook friends that you know in your market, and they're moving. So in this, just as I didn't put this part in here, I'm managing the life of a transaction, but there are things from capturing leads to the marketing. Then you got to assign those leads, put them on a plan, source them, get those things to the database. But the important thing about this whole section is you got to build a database. And the database is a place to capture those names and numbers of the people that you're coming in contact with every day. Because if you did 5 a day, 5 days a week, and it's literally 1,200 people that you've written a handwritten note to at the end of year 1, I mean, that's a lot of people to manage. Like, who am I supposed to call next? Who's on week 2? Who's on week 33? And then when we do it again next year and we add 5 people a day, every day, 5 days a week in year 2, now you've got 2,400 people. So if you don't have them in the database, you're not going to be able to do the middle section here where you're connecting or cultivating. And actually, this graphic has even been reversed. So when you capture them, you should have connected to capture them. So now you have to cultivate it over the next 5 to 10 years until they actually become a client and become closed business. So the truth about real estate, and this is for all of us, is that real estate is a contact sport. And in sales, it's a close contact sport, which that's the same with you guys, even with your real estate agents, making sure that you're in close contact with them and that they're being in close contact with their people, because that frequent, systematic, close touch, it's a massive, massive numbers game. And without being consistent and persistent, we have the roller coaster business that goes on. But once you start feeding every single day and you stay in touch with those people and you add the next people and you add the next people, your business starts to grow. And like I said earlier, my business, when it got to 100 sales a year, it could just ride 100 sales a year without adding anybody else to it for a year or 2. And then it will start declining again because I'm going back to the roller coaster by not being consistent about continually feeding it. Otherwise, it would just keep going and going and going and expanding. So your database is your business. Here's the crazy thing. I can right now look at every one of your databases and look at your business, your database, and tell you the direct proportion of how many deals you're probably doing a year. I can also tell you by that database number. By the time you show me who your Mets and haven't Mets are, I can calculate the numbers and I can almost predict without even knowing your numbers what you close and what you could be closing. And it's all based on this proven model on marketing. Don Hobbs, who's not with Keller Williams, created this 8x8 touch when they created a fictitious realtor in a neighborhood and they touched them 8 times in 8 weeks. And at the end of the 8 weeks, they asked them who the top agent is that they would use to sell their house. And it was an agent that's not even a real person. They created a fictitious realtor. So anyway, you can go the 1,900 route, you can go the 16,000 route, or keep doing what you're doing, which would be in that $8,000 person database, which probably isn't 8,000 for a lot of you, and start focusing on the 960. And so you bump those numbers back up and you're looking at 320 sales a year, 300 loans closed every single year. So your database is definitely the true proportion of your business. Oh, am I going backwards? All right, so that will show you your lost opportunities too, as you're connecting with people and you start getting these 960 in there and you start putting these plans in place. Unfortunately, you're going to see all the people that you've probably lost business with. So just what we've talked about on the 12-2 and the 50-1, you guys play with this worksheet on the size of your database, run it through the formula and see how much business you could be getting from your database. Remember, option one is if I were to just go completely like no mass marketing at all, I'm just going to connect with people for the 1960, but put in your closed goal, divide it by the 12-2, and it'll tell you how many people you need to have in there. Option two is if you went mass marketing, and option three is if you blended the two. So run your goal through there and your real goal, like the expanded number we talked about. If you were to give me a big goal, put that one in so you can figure out how many people you would need to have in your met and your haven't met database. By the way, if you're working through this, I would love to see every one of your responses on this, to really sit down and run the numbers and see what it comes out being, because it will help us track all this conversion. We already talked about this slide, but it'll help us track all this conversion. And here's what we know about cost of business, doing business. With the people you met, it doesn't cost you as much to do business with the Met group as it does the haven't met group, because you're mass marketing to the haven't met group. And if you just look through the 12-2 return, and we're talking about once the business closes, how you're funding your marketing follow-up. So on the 12 people in your or the 12-2 conversion rate, if you marketed to them 33 times a year, this is figuring that you're going to get 396 touches. You're going to get 2 sales out of that. It breaks down the cost of the sale. That it will cost you $31,000 to market to your Met database at 50 cents a follow-up, which you won't even spend 50 cents on every single follow-up. So even this number is a little bit off. You'll spend way less than that. But if you get a 50-1 return and you run it through and its cost is 50 cents, which it would be that at least, I mean, stamps are 50 cents. So even if you did direct door marketing and you marketed to those people, it's going to end up costing you 3 times more to market for a 6 to 8 times less return. So the cost to market to your database is also taken into account here. All right, and as we're kind of finishing, I know we're close to the end here. Your focus over the next really 15 weeks, we'll be going longer than 15 weeks on this, but is getting really focused on the database. And if you find yourself with distractions that are taking you away from this, let me know. Like, hey, I just got this great idea. I can get in front of 1,000 people next week if I do this one thing. That's unfocused marketing. You got to stay focused on this database and get that habit in place to do them 5 a day, every single day. So recap all this. Don't worry about being creative. Set your foundation at 5 a day, getting them into the database. Don't worry about the follow-up if you don't have that down yet, until you're feeding 5 a day, every single day. Past clients, realtors, whoever, connecting with people every day and getting them in. The rest of it doesn't matter. So don't worry about getting creative yet. These models are proven. They are going to help you get a very systematic, predictable database result back. So repeat and referral business require less money. We also need to understand that while that method costs less, it does require time. So again, there will be a point where your time, where you get so many people that you're following up with, there's going to be systems to leverage that even more. And that's where you might move back to some mass marketing. But if you were at change maker status, right, and you're probably bringing in a couple $1 million net profit in your bank account a year, you might want to invest your money back into some of that mass marketing stuff, because it requires less time and you can get in front of more people. The real cool factor, though, that you're going to have after this, once you've mastered the personal follow-up and then you do mass marketing, every time somebody calls in, you get 12-2 business versus 50-1 from that person, because you mastered the follow-up. So time is definitely going to be an issue. All right, so this is your action item. Work on your memory jogger list or your master list. Complete your big why, go through that exercise, and then work on those goal sheets. As a bonus, use the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book as a reason to touch base with some KW agents if you don't have a copy. I mean, I know it's easy to run down to Barnes & Noble and buy one. If I were you, I would call 5 KW agents and ask them if they have the book. Have they read it lately? You heard about these pages that you wanted to read, and ask if you could borrow their book for a week. And I would borrow the book from 6 of them if I called 6 of them, right? Oh, and then there's a video link in there too that just talks about why your database is a gold mine. Just another thing to kind of keep this information in front of you as we go between now and the next call. All right, what questions do you have? I'll leave you with this. Your database is a bank vault. Every one of those people are worth $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 to your bank account. This is not something that you just turn over to someone. It is like most people with a database that's messy and out of control, to hire an assistant to go in and clean it up, $8 an hour, $15 an hour, whatever, is like a bank owner saying, hey, here's the keys to the vault. We've saw some stacks of bills pop on their bands and there's dollar bills falling all over the place. Somebody they just hired in real quick to go in there and clean up the bank's vault. Yeah, right. You're not going to do that. So your database is your bank vault. Be careful who you let in there. All right, let me stop right there. What questions do you have? What comments? How do you guys feel about this call so far? Good stuff.
A lot to unpack, a lot to work on.
Yeah.
Question regarding database. Total Expert it's like a huge ocean, right? There's so much stuff there. Is there any particular campaigns that you recommend for dead leads, clients, close clients, realtors, more than the others, or just put them on general, mortgage sense and whatnot? I don't know if it makes sense or not. What's your experience? What you see is working for, let's say, Mike Morrison, for example?
Awesome question. So guys, we talked about the 2 different groups, the haven't met or not connected, and the Mets, or many of who we would say is met is really not connected, right? So I would say if you looked at your whole entire database and you have not talked to them in the last 30 days, consider them all haven't mets. Now this is tough, but I want you to consider them not connected. You got to reconnect with them, right? So everyone in your database as of today, unless you talked to them the last couple of weeks or so, 30 days, and you could write them a quick note or pick up the phone and call and they would talk to you, they are not mets. So what we know about not mets is we're going to touch them once a month at minimum. So any drip program at all that does anything around once a month is fine. And it's actually good if from A to Z, you put everybody on something. That's the best thing you can do. It's a 50-to-1 return. So it kind of sucks. And we all want the 12-to-2 return. But now once I do that, I'm going to at least capture that 1% or 2% while I'm now starting on A and going through Z. And I'm going to reconnect with each one of them one by one, A to Z. And you're going to do it in a very organized fashion, because if you don't, you're going to just spot hit here and there. And actually what you'd find out right now, if you went from A to Z and just looked through campaigns, just skim through every contact record. Somebody's on this one, 10 people are on nothing. Another guy's on one, 10 more people are on nothing. Our database is so sporadic and so messed up. It's just a nightmare. So the way that you grab a hold of it and get control, and we actually cover this specifically in one of our upcoming sessions. It might be this next one that we do or the one right after, is the reconnect plan. Just how to go through A to Z and really reconnect, which starts real similarly to the 8x8. Pick up the phone, get them on the phone. And what you're going to do in that script is just say, hey, I just realized I haven't done a good job of keeping in touch and I've lost touch and I'm actually calling to apologize. I want to catch up and see how you're doing. And they do all the talking. This could be a real estate agent too. Get them to do all the talking and you don't even talk about a mortgage program yet. Because if you haven't talked to them in a while and your call's coming out of left field, who cares what how awesome the reverse mortgage is going to be? I haven't even connected with them enough yet for them to process how awesome it would be. It's just this voice coming out of left field. So there is a very specific reconnect plan. So right now we're talking about just getting the master list all together so that we can then go through the database and clean it up and start feeding it every day while we're cleaning up the people that are in there. Yeah, it is a step process that we're going through, and we're really just on step 1, even though I know you want to get to step 4 like right away.
So either Dom or Jared threw out some numbers, 4 to 5 to get one loan app, 4 or 5 people. So then the next thing, say they come from realtors, you go back to the realtors and say, hey, do me a favor here. This, and then you work on your script with them for the clients. So then the applications we received, we should be meeting them and putting them in our Met file. The applications we didn't receive, do the script, ask for the favor, and then connect for the app, and then put them in our Met file once we've taken the time to meet them. Am I saying that wrong?
Well, so if they haven't filled out the online app, then I obviously haven't connected with them yet. So they're on a once a month drip plan about, do you want to buy a house? The importance of getting pre-approved, the generic stuff, right? Now, the realtor that gave you the lead would be considered a Met if I did follow up with them and wrote them a handwritten note. So they're going to be on an 8-touch and 8-week thing. So on week 4 and week 8, I'm going to be calling them going, I'm just going to know their file when I pull it up and know that the Joneses haven't done the file yet or haven't even sent their application in. So that'll be my call on week 4. But they're getting I send that pre-approval application, right? And so let's just say you got a referral from Brad Korn and I gave you the Joneses. You called the Joneses, you talked to them. They didn't fill out the app yet, right? Week 1 comes up. Since you talked to me, I got your handwritten note in the mail. You just followed the plan. 8 touch. Next week, I'm supposed to send an email with that link to my email or my online application. Joneses haven't done that yet. You're only a week old. I know I haven't gotten them yet. So on there, I'm going to add in there, hey, by the way, the Joneses haven't completed their application yet. I wanted to send this to you to make sure you had it as well. And I would send the dang email, just like the thing says. And then a week later, I will send my bio. Now, if by then I've touched or they called and they had a question, let's just say that worked, and the realtor actually forwarded them your application and said, hey, you need to fill out this application. Rock's waiting on it. And so you see how this might play out on the backside? So then they do that and they either do it or not. Maybe they do fill it out, but they're missing some stuff. The next week, your bio comes up and you're supposed to print your bio and drop it in the mail. Well, I was in touch with the Joneses. They were getting some information. So I'll chicken scratch on there. It's like, hey, just to let you know, Joneses did fill out the application. Thanks so much. Still waiting on a couple things from them. I'll keep you updated. Right. And then a week later, this would say, send a text message with a link to the online application. I won't even reference the Joneses now because we've connected. But if I hadn't, now I'm at week 3 with that application, even when I send the bio, might be, Joneses still haven't connected. I'm working on them. Right. And it's just letting you know, see how much more in touch I am knowing that you're working on it. Because by week 3, when I've gotten these, you're like, dude, it's not your fault that they haven't done anything. You've told me that you've been trying to get them for the last 3 weeks, but really they just haven't responded in the last 3 weeks. I'm just letting you know what's going on. So you're still personalizing some of these things that are going out. Another realtor may have gotten on that plan that didn't give me a referral and they're just getting the normal stuff just like it is. But you can write and personalize everything as much or as little as you want to. And it's like, you're just staying top of mind. It's a machine. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. And so bottom line is get the next 5 in today and don't fret over the past and just keep the system working.
And when you get knocked off for a week because you got busy because something did work, just start again. Just start where you are. No makeup, no back time. In fact, no lost time either, because you're not doing anything with them right now anyway. The more you think about all the things we got to do, we're not doing the 5. So just do that with everything else you're already going to do anyway. And you add that piece in there. When you get that to your habit, that's where you'll start cashing in big time. And
Thank you.
it only takes you a year to get to that 960. Cool, guys. All right. What'd you think? Good stuff? Yep. All right, cool. All right. Well, send me your ahas, work on those worksheets. I would love to see the worksheets from all of you. So just get me those in the next week or so, and I'll keep in touch with you between now and the next call as well. We're probably looking at, I got to check June and see, but it's probably going to be like the 5th or the 7th when we have this call again, or maybe the 12th. So
And we have a call on Wednesday, right?
we do. That's for the 795 group. If you're in the 795 group, I do a bonus session with real estate agents as well. So, all right, cool, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you for the great call. Take care, everybody.
Glad you all showed up.